Alrighty guys, well, there's not much to make for videos right now. The last fun thing I did was blow up that pumpkin. I'll show you what I gotta do. You know I gotta replace the motor in the lumina because it's the knocky ticky shitty whore. Howdy do! Okay, so I found the petcock valve. Yes, it's a comical name. And it's right here at the bottom of the rad. Alrighty, it is released. Now, to speed up this process, what you gotta do is actually open the system up so she pours. There you go. Alright, exhaust manifold bolts are never nice to do. You can see there's one there. It's not in terrible, they're not in too terrible condition, but they're not in very great condition either. Where the hell's the other one there? Yeah, in a bit of a dicky spot. Anyways, it's kind of like there. So you need a long extension with a, I call it a wobble on the end, or a universal joint or something like that. So I'm going to take this flexi film or whatever it is, penetrating lube, and penetrate these motherfuckers and let them sit for a little bit. Let's see if I can even. Got it. And then this one as well. Alrighty. Okay, the exhaust bolts are finally out after about a half hour worth of fighting. You got a big long extension with a wobble on the end to get at it, and just a 3/8 ratchet, and then you'll never get it by hand because they're so fucking tight and you lose a lot of torque down that long extension. So what I do, instead of, you can't really fit a big pipe underneath the bar, or underneath the car, I take a bigger socket, in this case a 5/8, and just a 6-inch extension, and it just slides together like that, and then that gives you a nice amount of torque. So there's a quick little trick for you. Sweet. Well, I wish I could tell you we were done with bullshit with exhaust pipes and things like that, but we're not. Well, if you have a GM V6 engine before 2005, it definitely has a crossover pipe. And it's got this stupid heat shield on it, which you need to remove to get to the 3 bolts that hold the flanges to the manifold here and back there. Now, I didn't record taking out these little, what are supposed to be 10mm bolts, because 2 of them on the front came out just fine. Look how easy they are to get at. Very, very simple. But the other 2 in the rear were just really shitty. So I actually ended up having to use a hammer and hammer on a 3/8 socket, which is a little bit smaller than a 10mm, to get those pieces of crap out. And wouldn't you believe, go fucking figure, every single flange bolt broke. There we go. Wow. Well, undoing the engine's wiring harness, unbolting the alternator power lead and the regulator and exciter plug. EGR's unplugged, of course, all the sensors. All the sensors on the front. I pulled the starter motor out, which, I mean, if you can't pull a starter motor out on your own, then you probably shouldn't be tackling something like this. I'm still only on my first beer. I've removed the belt and the power steering pump, which would have normally sat here. It's now just kind of hanging out up here. That way you don't have to undo any of the lines and you don't lose any power steering fluid, so it saves you a few bucks. Now you got to get up there. See that bolt right there? That bolt's got to come out, and then you got to turn the flywheel or the crank pulley, whichever way you want to turn the motor. Either way, the motor's got to be turned, and you got to get all those bolts out. Alrighty guys, well, that's how much beer I have left. Not much, about one more swig, but here we go. If you have a good look at her here, our motor is free and unattached. Torque converter bolts, you can see that's where it was. They're all loose and free.